What do you want from me? I'm just blood and flesh and bones. I'm not an answer.
Welcome to Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, the show where the Office of Military Affairs keeps you mildly entertained and more or less up to date on what's going on at UNCW. Your hosts are Joanna DeMott, the Military Liaison and Program Coordinator, and Melanie Nelson, the Military Student Services Specialist. Joanna, before I even ask you how you are, I have to say something else, and that is, happy birthday, United States Marine Corps. What are we up to, 245? Ridiculous.
Yes. Old man. The only service formed in a bar. So sadly, there will be no Marine Corps balls this year. It's very, very sad. I'm sure that the Marine Corps will make up for it when the partying can occur again.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that. The next time we get to go to a Marine Corps birthday ball, it will be a rager, even more so than it normally is. For those of you who've been to Marine Corps birthday balls, you know what we're talking about. Otherwise, just disregard this whole thing and wish a Marine a happy birthday today. So now, Joanna, I can ask you, how are you on this 245th birthday of the United States Marine Corps?
I'm great. I'm always great, and I continue to be great. It's a great day. You know, North Carolina's gorgeous. It's great. How are you, Melanie?
Fantastic. I am fantastic today.
I'm wondering if our guest today, I'm very excited and really very excited to introduce Brad Howard, a UNCW alum, Air Force veteran, and a producer on CNBC. How are you today, Brad?
I'm doing pretty good. Really enjoying the nice weather up here.
Now, we discussed where you're living now. Your work situation is different. How has your job changed? What's going on?
Yeah, so I had a very unique experience being that I was in New York City as the pandemic was unfolding, and that as I sort of saw everything happening, which I'm in the news and I just sort of see all these things, I was growing a little bit concerned about the direction of the virus. And as I was a little uncomfortable about it, CNBC approached me with a job offer. So I literally was starting at CNBC about 3 days before we went full remote, which meant that I did my orientation at 30 Rock in Manhattan. And as I was doing it, it was like a horror movie where all around me were these giant TV screens like cruise ship quarantine, you know, oil prices dropping to zero. Like, meanwhile, I'm trying to start this new job. But yeah, it's been pretty great. I've been there since March and have been covering everything from the pandemic, the unrest, and currently the election.
That's a lot to be covering. You're really in the thick of it. Melanie has a really important question for you. It's not as hard hitting as some of the things that you've discussed. We are mildly entertaining here.
Yes, we do try to keep it mild. And we're going to return to this idea that you started working in a horror story because that is fascinating. But first, we want to know what gets you through the horror stories, which is, what are you snacking on these days?
Man, that was a good question. So I found that Wegmans bagel bites are just like a step up from the traditional bagel bite. So that's probably what's getting me through all this.
Did not expect that today, honestly, a step up from the traditional bagel bite. I'm adding that to my list of snacks. This is why I asked this question, so that I can add to my own personal roster of items to snack on. So thank you for sharing. And now we're going to talk a little bit about why you really came on the show today, which you're a UNCW alum. So tell us about your college experience and how it's connected to what you're doing now.
Well, it's sort of interesting. I got out of the Air Force and I had just gotten back from Afghanistan. I was in Oklahoma, which has no oceans. And I was like, I would like to live somewhere with an ocean. So I moved back to North Carolina, looked at various schools, and I visited UNCW. And I was really just, I fell in love with how pretty it was, how nice it was. And also they instantly refunded my application fee because I was a veteran. I was like, oh, well, that's also nice. Yeah. And so I started out there. I wasn't sure what I was doing. I didn't really think I was that great at school, which UNCW showed that I actually was pretty good at school. Go figure. Ended up erring towards political science because I like to argue about politics, which makes a lot of sense when I look at my current position. And yeah, I did a lot of film work too. I didn't finish a film degree, but I started one. So I graduated with a political science degree, did a bunch of film courses, and then graduated. And the combination of political science and film sort of shoved me into the news. I met someone at WCT, which is the local station there, and literally they were on campus filming a segment. And I was like, "Hey, you guys hiring?" And the guy was like, maybe. Let me get your info," which is so weird to think about in the age of LinkedIn and everything else. But yeah, he texted me a few weeks later, and then I worked at WCT for a year, and then I moved on to DC. So yeah, that's the short of my UNCW experience.
So many things to unpack here. So let's back up a minute. What did you do in the Air Force?
So my AFSC, which is like the Air Force, like MOS, like code specialty, was 1A451. I don't even think it exists anymore, but at the time it was called Airborne Battle Management. And I essentially flew on spy planes. So I flew on the E-3 Sentry, which is like a big spy plane that's been in a lot of movies like Transformers and stuff. And then I spent time flying on C-130Hs, called a Scade View model. And it has a cool camera to like, do like that Hollywood chasing a car sort of thing. And then MC-12 Liberties, which are also like a really small spy plane. And that's what I flew on in Afghanistan.
Okay. So a little element of like the spy thing, the thriller thing, we're interested in all of that. So I do love the reasons that you chose UNCW. Sometimes people discount the idea that the campus itself is a draw. And then you go to some place, I won't name names, but there are college campuses around the country that are just hideous. They're just ugly. They're just not pleasant to be in. And it can really, boost your college experience to go someplace beautiful like UNCW. I also chose my college campus as an undergraduate, partly because it was beautiful. The University of South Carolina, if anybody wants to know. Flowers blooming all year round. It's just nice, and it does make a difference to feel like you're going to go be on campus, someplace that is lovely to be. And even I think a little bit when you're a distance education learner, for some of our students who are doing that now, you still get to see photos of campus that are beautiful, right? So that helps. So I am not knocking your decision to come to UNCW because of the ocean and because of the beautiful campus. And then wanting to major in political science because you like arguing about politics. That's beautiful. To me, that is absolutely the right reason to choose your major, because you enjoy it. Sometimes our student veterans get a little wrapped around the axle about like, I have to get a major that will get me a degree in something that will launch me into a career field earning X number of dollars. And they just sort of forget to like have fun and enjoy it and to stop and smell the roses on their beautiful campus. So I like that you mentioned that. And then, even without like officially minoring in film studies, why not take advantage of those courses if you can squeeze them in, right? That makes so much sense. So again, I appreciate you sharing that part of your story. But let's talk more about this deal where you just walked up to somebody on the sidewalk and said, "Hey, do you have a job?" We do not advocate for that anymore, students. We do not suggest that that's what you do. People will just be irritated with you. It's all on the internet. Out of curiosity, Brad, have you been able to return that favor for anybody since you first approached WECT for a job?
So I definitely try to always help out those who I've worked with. At UNCW, I've tried to, like if I see job openings, I'll, forward them along. And also, especially anybody I work with at other organizations or on film sets or whatnot, I absolutely like to pay it forward. I mean, it's sort of the thing where, you don't really pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's a whole village that helps you get somewhere. So helping other people out is, I guess, my way of saying, hey, I got lucky. Let me hopefully help you get lucky.
Yes, we love that. And that's obviously something that we'd like to hear from people in the veteran community. Sometimes we forget that, like, yes, you can ask for a job or say, I wonder if you know of anybody who's hiring, without doing this like slap in the face cold call about, yeah, I need a job. So thank you for telling us all of that about your story and how it got you all the way up to 30 Rock. Ooh, we know that name. That's exciting to us down here in Wilmington. So I'm going to hand you very awkwardly back over to Joanna for more questions about your work.
It makes me so nervous to know that somebody who's actually in the news and doing things regularly is on our podcast here, where we awkwardly transition all the time. But that's, kind of part of our brand. You have what sounds like a very exciting job. Well, while you might not get much sleep nowadays, it does sound very exciting. What is your favorite part of what you do?
I really like it when I either publish a piece or I help with someone else's piece, and it gets sort of accolades in that general sense. Like on Twitter, if people like it, if people learn something, it's really, at the end of the day, I want to make something that people enjoy. I'm not looking for, hate clicks. I'm not looking for acrimony. I just want to like my videos that I make. The series is called The Bigger Picture, and the whole idea is to really explain a large topic. So I want to educate, and that's really the end goal for what I'm doing. And it makes me happy when people learn something.
That is very interesting. So you're teaching while using media, which is amazing. What do you think some misconceptions are about what you do?
Unfortunately, the industry is considered like a glamour industry, and that leads to a lot of competition, which drives down the possibilities for lower income people to get into it. And so I think the misconception is that it's only for the rich and those who are of sort of upper class upbringing. And I think that diversity really helps the news. And so I think that if you think, oh, it's out of reach because it's this, only in New York City or only in LA industry, like it's not. I think if you're somebody in Tennessee, you should try to get into the news if you want to, although it is a very tough industry. So it should be open to everyone.
I like that diversity of perspective. So you're not just getting that upper echelon type of ideas and knowledge. I'm really excited to check out The Bigger Picture for sure. Can you tell me just a little bit more about The Bigger Picture, or maybe one of your favorite pieces?
Yeah, sure. So one that did really well recently was on the business of fighter jets. So I've kind of found a niche for The Bigger Picture, ones that I do. And I also help other producers do their own pieces. I do a lot that relate to the military and national security because I have a background there. So this one on fighter jets, it really went into, how much money's involved, the companies in the US that do it, and fighter jets are cool. People like fighter jets. So it's a pretty fun topic to go into. Yeah, and that was definitely one of my favorite, most recent pieces, one that the veteran community really liked. I did one on private military companies, which is a subject near and dear to the hearts of a lot of veterans, and that it's, companies like say Blackwater, which doesn't really exist anymore, who hire, ex-military people to do these jobs that are in conflict zones. And that one got a lot of traction in the veteran community, and I had some pretty high profile vets interviewed in it, which was great.
That's excellent. Is there one that you maybe contributed to that you really are proud of as well?
So my one of my amazing coworkers, Charlotte, she did a piece on October surprises that came out right before the election, and I helped just like her with whatever she needed. The way it works, similar to writing stories, writing for video is similar in that you write out a script, then you lay into it with edits, you make sure everything's fact checked, and so I was really helping on the editing side of what she was writing. And what ended up coming out was a really good video, and it did really well. And people, got essentially more education on our electoral process and the outside influences and things that can happen. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that one came out.
It's excellent. So we've got the business of fighter jets, little private military, and then some surprises in October that'll help us learn a little bit more about the Electoral College. I like it. Is there anything else you'd like to tell our 23 subscribers?
I guess it's that like when I got to UNCW, I really had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Even after I graduated, I went to WCT, but I didn't really, I know this will sound kind of funny because of where I am now. I didn't really enjoy it that much. And I ended up working in DC doing audiovisual work as like a segue to grad school. And, it takes time to figure out what you're doing. I mean, I love my job right now. It's great. Will I be doing it in 10 years? I hope so. I mean, I really don't know, but it just you don't have to have the expectation that you graduate and you roll into a awesome 6-figure job right away, because it's very unrealistic. It's, it makes a lot more sense that you've graduated with a degree. All right, you've learned critical thinking. Then maybe you're working waiting tables or at a bar or whatever, and on the side you're doing something that you enjoy. Maybe it's, I don't know, finance, banking, small business stuff, and then that eventually becomes your full-time job. And that's really sort of the route that is what you have today versus I think like 30 or 40 years ago, where it seems like you would sort of graduate and roll right into like a middle-class job, which doesn't happen anymore.
I know Melanie's going to be very grateful for the confirmation of what she tells many of our students. Thank you so much, Brad.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad to have been talking with you both. It's been great.
Yes, I will just go ahead and echo what Joanna just said. I'm sitting here silently cheering while you're talking because we talk about this a lot with students where it's like, you might not like the job that you get right out of graduation. It might be your dream job or what you thought was your dream job. And then it turns out that it's like, oh no, this is work, right? And you have to kind of get through that first phase and then shift and figure out, well, okay, what did I like about that and what didn't I? What would a different environment make it better? All of those things come into play. And I like how you acknowledge that it's not the same as it was a few decades ago. And the people who have the jobs that we think we want did this system a few decades ago, right? And so for them, it was just a completely different world. So remake it for yourself, you know, especially if you're a veteran. You have done crazy, ridiculous things. You rode around on spy planes. You can do whatever the heck you want and you don't have to explain it to anybody. And that is our defining message for Veterans Week. Do whatever you want and don't explain it to anybody. Thank you, Brad, for joining us today. And this has been an episode of Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, and we will see you on the internet. Thank you for listening to Mildly Entertaining. Our intro music comes from the band Blue Turnip and their song, What Do You Want From Me? You can find their EP Songs from the Root Cellar on Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon, and Spotify. For more information, you can go to blueturnipmusic.com.